Emma Denny?
Yes, sorry, I was just, yes, it's just now gone live onto YouTube.
Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cabinet on Monday, the 2nd of November, 2020. Please remember that we are streaming live on YouTube, so just be aware. Thank you. Right. Do we have any apologies for absence? I don't believe we do.
No, none received.
Thank you. The minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have any comments they would like to make on the minutes of the last meeting? That doesn't appear to be. Do I have a proposer for the minutes then, please? Thank you, Richard, Councillor Kershaw. And a seconder, please. Councillor Lloyd, thank you very much. In which case, can we go to the vote, please? All those who in favour of accepting the minutes. Thank you very much. Do we have any public questions or statements, please?
No, none received.
Thank you. So we have two items of urgent business this morning, one of which is in relation to Victory Housing Trust and the Flagship Housing Group. I believe everyone should have received a paper on this. Cabinet will remember that we had said that we would like to speak to Victory Housing Trust before we signed this paperwork. That has been done. That was done last week. And now we need to formalise the agreement to allow them, Victory Housing, to become formally part of Flagship. Has everyone got any questions on that? Anything that they would like to ask at this stage? No? In which case, please can we go to a vote on that? Although I'd like to propose it, I need a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Toy. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much, everyone. Next is a statement based on the Prime Minister's announcement on Saturday evening. And I think it's just important that we lay out for the people of North Norfolk where we are, what our understanding is at this stage, and how we intend to move forwards. Councillor Dixon, I appreciate you won't have seen this in advance, and as Chairman, as overview and scrutiny, that would be your right. Are you content for me to continue with this statement?
Yes, I think in the circumstances, I doubt if your statement will have too many surprises, so to speak, but yes, I'm content with that.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. So, following the Prime Minister's statement on Saturday evening, advising that there will be a second national lockdown in England from Thursday, 5th of November, through until the 2nd of December, both the Chief Executive and I attended a webinar led by the Secretary of State, Robert Jenrick, yesterday evening, the headline messages from which are as follows. The government now says that it recognises that a second national lockdown will have a significant impact on people's lives and livelihoods, and has only taken the difficult decision after recognising that local measures through the tiering arrangements had not been successful in halting the spread of the virus. With cases now rising in all regions of England, such that, without stronger measures, concerns existed that within a matter of weeks, the NHS would be under significant pressures. This lockdown is not the same as the one in the spring, in that the government hopes that schools, colleges and universities will remain open. Further, in many sectors of the economy, people should continue to go to work. If they can, they should work from home, but in the construction and manufacturing sectors and tradespeople undertaking work in people's homes, these occupations should continue with people adhering to social distancing guidelines. Non-essential retail, hospitality, indoor leisure and personal services, hairdressers, barbers, beauticians, etc., have to close. Churches can only open for private prayer and funerals under social distancing, measures, but not for collective worship, and this includes indoor services of remembrance. The government said yesterday evening it would be issuing further guidance on the services of remembrance next weekend. Outdoor play areas can remain open and people can continue to exercise outdoors alone or in a household group. Amateur team sports activities have to cease. Public services are to remain open, including refuse and recycling services. DWP, courts and some local council services, although further guidance is to be issued on this early this week. Restrictions on visits to care homes will remain. Support for rough sleepers continues, building on the earlier Everybody In initiative. And I'm pleased to share with Cabinet that last week, prior to the lockdown announcement, the District Council had been successful in its application for a further £140,000 of grant funding, which the Council is matching to purchase 4 units of accommodation for emergency short-term use under the Next Steps programme, something which was already underway without the support, but which we are pleased to be able to extend. In terms of supporting our most vulnerable residents, people identified as clinically extremely vulnerable, i.e. those who were advised to shield under the first national lockdown, the government is advising people in this group that they should significantly restrict their social contact and avoid shopping, including visiting pharmacies, if at all possible. Local government is asked to support people in this group with shopping and collecting prescriptions, etc. And we will therefore stand up our community support arrangements and promote again our COVID helpline and email address so that any local person who is concerned about being able to access shopping and medicines can be supported. Businesses required to close by the lockdown legislation will be paid £3,000 per month by the government, and details will also be issued later this week for local authorities to operate a further discretionary business support programme, and our officers will review and implement a local support scheme as soon as the guidance is published, recognising the considerable uncertainty this further lockdown will create many small businesses in the district. So what does the national lockdown mean for North Norfolk and the District Council? Well, as one of the local authority areas with the lowest rates of infection in the country, we recognise that the decision by the government to move forward with a national lockdown will be met with disappointment by many local people and businesses after working so hard to keep rates of infection in the district low throughout the summer. However, as many people in North Norfolk are in older age groups and therefore the most vulnerable age groups of the COVID infection, a further lockdown, together with the underlying low rates in North Norfolk, will give many people in our area comfort through further minimising the level of risk they might otherwise have faced in contracting the virus. We recognise that this announcement will create uncertainty for local people and particularly local businesses. We are therefore having a meeting of our internal Gold Civil Contingency Group to discuss arrangements this afternoon and to develop the Council's formal response to the lockdown announcement. Our initial thoughts are that we will continue to be able to provide the Council's core services without significant interruption, as the majority of staff are already working from home. We will, however, stand up our community support arrangements with wider promotion again of our 01263 51 6000 and NNDC COVID-19 at north-norfolk.gov.uk contacts, so that residents unable to access shopping online or through family and friends or collect prescriptions can be supported to stay at home in accordance with the government guidance. We will also strengthen our business advice and support service so that businesses which are required to close are supported quickly to access government funding and other support through any discretionary support programme we are able to establish. We will review the opening of our facilities. At this stage, we believe we will keep open all of our playgrounds and car parks so that local people can access the outdoors during the lockdown for their mental health and physical fitness well-being. We will, however, consider whether, due to lower use, we can close some public conveniences where we have a number of facilities in one town so as to save money on cleaning, utilities, etc. However, if we do make such a decision, we will advertise the nearest facility available for people to use. We will continue to work with partners across Norfolk in responding to the COVID situation here. Whilst our rates of infection remain some of the lowest in the country, colleagues in other Norfolk districts have seen some localised spikes in infections, particularly associated with meat processing plants, Banham Poultry, Bernard Matthews and Cranswick. Country Foods. And through mutual aid arrangements, some of our staff have volunteered to support Great Yarmouth and Breckland councils manage the local outbreaks in their areas. And I think we should all register our thanks to them for being prepared to serve their community across the whole of the county. Both of the council leaders that we provided mutual aid to have written expressing their thanks. And I think that just shows that when the chips are down and when we need to, we will work together for the good of the people of Norfolk. Therefore, we urge our residents and businesses once again to stay at home, save lives and protect the NHS, but stand ready to support anyone who needs our help and support at this time and in the coming weeks. I hope that was clear for everyone, and if anyone's got any questions, I'd be happy to take them. In which case, thank you very much. We move back to the formal agenda. Do we have any declarations of interest, please? No. Do we have any members' questions? As usual, we'll take them as we go through. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Councillor Butikover. Your administration continues to stagger from calamity to calamity. And I understand there's now widespread disillusion amongst many councils, members of staff, and also your own group. Indeed, this morning, Councillor Yolanda Stenton has resigned from the Liberal Democrats because she's appalled about the waste of taxpayers' money paid out on the capability review, the recent severance payments, the chaotic restructure, and also the recent revelation in the EDP about the police investigation into alleged financial misconduct at the council. And I would add that I'm pleased to welcome Yolanda to the Conservative group. On the matter of the alleged financial misconduct, since the investigation started, have there been any additional protections put in place to protect the council from financial malpractice?
Councillor Cushing, as you know, we cannot comment on anything to do with the police investigation at this time. We have said this consistently. It would be inappropriate, and if there were to be action by the police at a later date, it could prejudice those findings. So no, we cannot comment at this time. It's clearly disappointing that anyone feels that the council has done anything wrong. But until we have the result of those findings, we have to wait. So I'm sorry, but I cannot answer that part of your question this morning.
Okay. Well, we'll wait to see. Do we have any idea when the police investigation by Cambridge Constabulary, they will make a decision on whether they are going to proceed or otherwise?
Excuse me, can I interrupt? Councillor Cushing, you have been briefed on this matter and we will bring the issue to you in due course once the investigation is completed. I don't think it's helpful to say or speculate further at this time in respect to this issue. You have my undertaking that once we receive any report from the external investigation, it will be brought before an appropriate committee of the council. I think we need to move on. Thank you.
And I think I absolutely agree with the Chief Executive. I have absolutely no problem with sharing that with certainly the different group leaders and any other relevant part of the council once we have those reports. Right. Anybody else have any questions they would like to raise at this time? Okay. Overview and scrutiny questions. Councillor Dixon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. You will see before you one resolution from the most recent overview and scrutiny meeting. I should just say that there was a strong feeling that this was an important strand of contact with the public and other stakeholders, and that it needs to continue. And I know that you have given an indication that you will make efforts to do so. So this is the formal resolution from overview and scrutiny on this matter. Could I just raise two other matters as an aside? You'll be aware that for some time now, we have been expecting and trying to make arrangements for a pre-scrutiny finance workshop regarding the medium-term financial strategy and proposals to fill the funding gap. Efforts to fix this in the diary so far have failed, and overview and scrutiny asks for cabinet intervention to resolve this, please. Clearly, I think it's a matter in our common interests that we schedule this as soon as we can. And I know that there was an initial indication that it should be during October. And I also understand that it has probably slipped, or that it has slipped into November. But I think for the purposes of our diaries, we ought to be able to fix this. And I ask you to do your best to ensure that this happens and that we get ahead of the game, so to speak. There is a similar situation regarding a delay on the Digital by Design seminar, but I think we understand some of the reasons for that. And in any event, I would suggest that it probably takes a lesser priority than the funding matter. So could I leave those two with you as well as the formal resolution, please?
Absolutely, Councillor Dixon, and I don't think we have any problem with trying to resolve those issues for you as soon as possible, because I think we all recognise that they need to move forwards. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
So we have recommendations from the Cabinet Working Parties. The Planning Policy and Built Heritage Working Party. Councillor Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, you have in front of you two recommendations from the Working Party that met on the 12th of October. Whilst I wasn't on Cabinet at that time, I did attend this meeting and saw the debate going on, and would like to bring both recommendations to you en bloc, and they're as written before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Toy. Councillor Fitch-Tillett.
Yeah, good morning, Madam Chairman. Good morning, members. I would thoroughly like to recommend the revised policies for coastal management. They are more comprehensive than the ones that we are currently using, and they are more relevant. And also they dovetail into our Coastal Partnership East supplementary planning document, which we hope will make planning decisions on our coastal frontages easier to understand and implement. Thank you.
Thank you. So Councillor Toy, are you proposing? Councillor Fitch-Tillett seconding?
That's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions on these recommendations before we proceed? In which case, having been duly proposed and seconded, can we take a vote, please? All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Okay. Can I move then to Councillor Seward, please, for the budget monitoring report?
Good morning, members, and thank you, Chair. This report, when it was written, is set out in the summary before you. There are also two recommendations. At the time that this report was written, we were forecasting for the current year based on the information for the first 6 months, a deficit by the end of the year of £420,000. This, of course, was a projected figure. We can't necessarily be certain, given everything that's taking place, and particularly over what we're going to get back from the government in terms of losses of income, fees and charges. I suppose the first thing I have to say is that since this report was written, how things change. The first thing is that under the fourth tranche from the government, the council has received a further £416,000, which is welcome. So in theory, as of today, we have a balanced budget for this year. There are many councils in the country which, in spite of the considerable government assistance, are still running deficits for this current financial year. This council is not. So I think that that is very good news. The second thing, of course, we now have a further lockdown period, initially for 4 weeks. We don't know whether that will just be for 4 weeks in North Norfolk or longer. What the implications for that will be on the council's finances, we shall have to work through and we shall have to see. But again, it creates a further element of uncertainty. All one can hope is that by the end of March this year, we actually end up with a balanced budget situation. Within the report that is actually there, you do have the various pluses and minuses in terms of where we are with the budget. And clearly, if anybody has any questions, we, along with the officers, will do our best to answer them. The report also has to go to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for a more detailed scrutiny. So that's the sort of good news. The other difficulty we have going forward is that the spending review for local government is now only going to be for a year. The normal technical consultations, I'm advised, which take place by now, to give us some idea what support we will get from central government, have not taken place. And therefore, this council, like many others, is in the dark a bit about what support we will receive from central government next year. We have had various ministerial statements saying that the major reviews have been deferred given the pandemic, and that is welcome news. All I can say is that I am in now monthly meetings with the finance team in terms of preparing next year's budget. And I can assure Councillor Dixon that at the meeting last week, I did raise with them the question of a members' briefing and discussion in relation to the 21-22 budget, so that there can be a wider discussion in an informal way about where we are. All I can say at the moment is that if there is a fair wind, I think we can get through to have a balanced budget by 21-22 without any cuts in services. Madam Chairman, that's all I wish to say by way of introduction. There are 2 recommendations before you, and I move those recommendations. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Councillor Seward. Councillor Fitch-Tillett, I see that you would like to speak.
Yeah, thank you again, Madam Chairman. As you are aware, and I'm looking now at the second recommendation in this particular item, coastal erosion is one of the biggest risks that this council faces. Our Adaptation Fund is there due purely and simply for careful financial management within the Coastal Partnership East organisation. I would thoroughly recommend that we accept this just very nearly £250,000, so that if anybody is in danger of losing their property and also there are communities that are at risk on the edge, we have the funds in order to help them out. So please support this on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fitch-Tillett. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? In which case, do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Fitch-Tillett, are you seconding, or?
More than happy to, Madam Chairman.
In which case, thank you. So it having been proposed and seconded, can I have a show of hands to support, please? Thank you very much indeed. It's passed. So we move to the Treasury half-year update. Councillor Seward.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. There are two recommendations in front of you. One is to approve the half-yearly report, and the other is to approve changes to the counter-party limits. The report's in front of you. I don't think I wish to add anything further, other than to say that at times this year we've been carrying larger sums of money than we would normally do in order to, because of the government grants that have been received in order to support businesses and other units in relation to the COVID pandemic. I move the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Seward. Councillor Lloyd.
I'll be happy to second this motion. It's a shame that we're having to deal with such historic low interest rates and returns on gilts, but that's just life at the moment. But I think the officers and the portfolio member has done a good job in maintaining our assets the way they have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lloyd. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, in which case can we move to the vote, please? All those in favour? Thank you very much. So we move to the next report, the determination of council tax discounts for 21-22. Councillor Seward.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The council is legally obligated to set out its council tax discounts for the financial year ahead. This information is also required for the calculation of the tax base for the year, which is used in budget setting by the District Council, as well as the Norfolk Police and Crime Commissioner and Norfolk County Council. This year, the only proposed changes relate to empty properties. We now have the power to increase the levy on properties which have been empty for over 10 years to 300% of their council tax charge. Officers recommend this is implemented for the 21-22 financial year. This will result in a small financial benefit, but will be a policy tool to encourage people to bring back empty properties into use. Officers would like to maintain discretion to offer an exemption to the levy where occupiers are in the process of renovating properties to make them usable as dwellings. I move the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Seward. Do we have a seconder for this motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Hayman. Would anyone like to speak on this paper? No? In which case we'll move to the vote, please. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Just before we move into the last item, I think I would like to say one more thing back to Councillor Cushing's earlier comment. And that is, you've just seen this council consider several important matters for this district without problem. I'm sorry, Councillor Cushing, but we are not a punch bag for the incompetence we are seeing in Westminster at the moment. Right. I have to move that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information, as defined in paragraphs 2 and 3 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended to the Act. I would like to propose that we move into private business. Do I have a seconder, please? I'm deluged with seconders. Councillor Kershaw, thank you. In which case, could I take a